Probably the most influential mentor in my life uttered these words in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People when he said that nobody on their deathbed ever wished they'd spent more time at the office. Dr. Stephen R. Covey wrote that and made famous in The 7 Habits the concept that what we do with the time that we're given is so vitally important that we probably should look at it a little bit differently. Now, I realize that there are many, many ways to organize your life and organize time. Time is one of those precious elements. That is the only finite resource that we have. There's only so much of it. Every single day it depletes, every single day it starts over. But we have limited time. And believe me, from one who's seasoned, that time goes by very quickly. You blink and your children are grown. You blink and your grandchildren are grown. We recently celebrated the 5th birthday of one of my grandchildren. It goes by so fast. I remember when he was born. I remember when he was in here helping build this particular office, carrying a hammer at a very young age. Those times pass quickly. We have to be aware of those times. We have to know that that time goes by, and then we get a perspective, or we begin to think about how do we spend the time that we have. Now, I want to revisit with you one of the concepts of time that I found to be the very most helpful in truly organizing around the things that are most important. That becomes the clarion call, is to keep the most important things the most important things. So how do you use time? How do you utilize the resources that you have in order to make the most with the most that you possibly can? That is what experience is all about. That's what making experience is all about, especially for those that we care about the most, those that are in our personal area of experience. I love the principles of the time management matrix. And as we think about how do we organize time, I love the idea that it's taken around 2 basic principles, what's urgent and what's important. Now, the converse of that, what's not urgent, what's not important, make up all of the rest of the time management matrix. And as you can see, there are different components, different parts that make up the time management matrix that help us to understand how it is that we organize things. We've become a very urgent society. Since this time management matrix was created, we have morphed into an incredibly urgent society. We get a text, we urgently have to read it. Think about it. Think about it when you received a text and you knew it. You didn't turn off your phone, you just silenced it. You knew you got it and you had to do something about it. That's what it has become. I remember when emails were that way. I remember when telephones were that way. When the phone that we had, the corded phone at home, rang, we rushed to answer it. Why? Because it might be something truly important. It might be something truly urgent. So we didn't let that go. Telemarketing got hold of that, right? And then email, and then marketing got a hold of that, and then texting, and now marketing's gotten a hold of that. There will always be those who are ready to pounce on urgency. And as long as we continue to react to urgency, we will not use our time wisely. Listen to this little story. In the last 17 years of being a business executive, I've taken a lot of people out to lunch. But as I wrote out my roles and came to husband, I realized that I hadn't been taking my own wife out to lunch. And my relationship with her is one of the most important relationships in my life. So, as a result of weekly organizing, we started doing that. And it's brought us much closer together. Our communication has increased, which has led me to discover other ways that I can be a better husband. As I review my roles as husband each week, I believe I'm doing a much better job. That kind of gives us a glimpse of how Covey taught the second habit, and the idea that we have to organize our lives into the roles that we play. And of those roles, then the people that are influenced in those roles. Then we take those roles and we break it down into a weekly basis. And from that weekly basis, we begin to understand, where are we putting our time? Because as we put our time is where our priority is. So are we putting our time into the roles, into the relationships that mean the most to us? And how are we doing that? What experience are we giving those individuals? What experience are we living out in those roles? What experience are we providing in those roles? As we consider those things, as you consider the relationships that you have, the experiences that you have within those relationships, and how you utilize the time that you have, I think that you'll find that as we work to make the most of the roles that are most important to us, life becomes more full, life becomes richer, we become happier because the people around us become happier and more secure. We have less to worry about. Give it a try. I think you'll find it interesting. Thank you so much for joining me on the Primacy Podcast. I appreciate you being here with me. I'll see you on the next Primacy Podcast.